So this is called to order at 6:34 on December 7th for the Southborough Stewardship Committee. And I'll just quickly do a roll call. I'm Joyce Greenleaf, Kat,
Yes, here.
Jenny,
Here.
Freddie.
Here.
And we do not have Isabella tonight, but we do have quorum. So the first item of business is the approving the minutes from our last meeting. So I went through them. I didn't have anything. Does anyone have anything on the minutes?
I do not. Do we want to pull them up for any reason? Does anyone need to see them?
Okay, barring any corrections or edits, can I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
All in favor of approving the minutes as submitted?
Do we need
Kat?
do we need a,
Oh, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Jenny. All in favor, Kat?
yes.
Jenny?
Yes.
Freddie?
Yeah.
And myself, yes, the motion passes. All right, so the next item I had on the agenda was for the dog litter campaign, educational campaign associated with the funding we have from Choate. Thank you, Kat, for sending us the scope of that project as a reminder of what we were funded for. And we had queued up that we would talk about kind of what has to happen and kind of the different signs we might want to be looking into and things like that. Do you want to talk us through that, Kat?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm trying to share screens. Hang on a second. Let me know when you can see a town forest map.
I can see it.
Great. Okay, so I think you guys might have, so the objectives, locations, and project scope just gives us the overview, so I can kind of skip through this piece. So what we're going to be talking about, I wanted just to give you a visual of where the signage that we were looking to add to the town forest and to Breakneck Hill. And so I've done so here by using this key of icons to help identify where the map boards will go in the town forest, the dog waste education signs in the town forest and Breakneck Hill, and that those are also going throughout town. So the permitted use signs, where we're thinking of putting those, and the permitted use signs can also include some dog waste information if we're short on signage funding. Directional signage, this is just that, and then trail names. And when I was doing the trail names, it looks like I might, if we're looking to identify all of the trails at the intersections, we might be a couple short from what I initially had received a quote for. So we might be able to, push some money around and get the signage we need for that. So we wanted to talk about what the trail signs would look like. Are you raising your hand, Joyce?
I wanted to ask, I don't want to jump ahead, but I noticed you have the dog waste education at the kiosk, but not at the other trailhead at Breakneck Hill.
Thinking is for the, because I only have funding for, say, 9 dog waste signs, and they have to go across all of town.
Got it.
What I thought we could do is the permitted use, so that's plus sign, this permitted use, we could add dog waste education information here, as well as on this side, because I think for the town forest, just speaking of it, there's 3 main entry points, and we would want dog waste information at each of those, but because I can't necessarily afford with the grant they weren't budgeted to have at each location. I think the permitted use signs can be repurposed to have some information about the dog waste. So that's what I was
Yeah.
kind of brainstorming.
Freddie, your hands up.
Is, I would suggest that the dog waste sign at the other entrance at Breakneck Hill is equally or more important than anywhere else, because we have tons of dogs going in there. And I think just because the grant doesn't cover it, doesn't mean we can't cover it. So when you're making the signs, I think what we should be thinking about is what the need is. And
Yep.
then take, you know, what you pay out of the grant is what you pay out of the grant. And if there's others, the stewards could decide to
Mhm.
fund it out of the Stewardship Committee. I think it's critically important to have the dog waste signs, whatever we come up with, separate from the other signs, because it gets lost.
Yeah, that's fair. And I was thinking the same thing, Freddie, so thanks for bringing that up. So we had allotted one dog waste education piece here. And so I would assume the entrance near the Ecology Garden would be another key location.
Yeah.
Is there another location like coming off of Woodland here, this little side trail? Is there any interest in doing any kind of signage here?
I don't think that's a well-used part of the trail, is it?
I don't think I don't witness people there. I can imagine it being the less frequented path.
I think the near ecology, and then the other trailhead, and then the 3 entrances to the forest. So if we're funded by CHOAT for only a certain number, then we'll just see what we can, you know, we can vote, as Freddie said, to use stewardship funds there.
Yep, that's fair. And so I think I budgeted 4 permitted use signs. What I've done here is split them between Breakneck Hill and Town Forest, the red ones. And then I was also, the map board at the cul-de-sac was thinking that could also include other stuff that's needed for permitted uses. So that map board might be all inclusive. Yes.
You're not putting a dog waste at that entrance, or you are? I don't see the doggy.
Right. So what I don't have, so I was just going to include it in the permitted uses here.
So just to consider,
Mhm.
I don't, you know, we don't want to be sign pollution. I understand that. But if you need, if you know that area better, if you felt you needed both a permitted uses and a dog sign there, you could just take the 2 from the kiosk and move them up there, and then we could spend the stewardship money on them down at Breakneck Hill there.
Okay.
Just, you don't have to move them. I'm just saying to keep
Yeah,
it
it
all
would-
at Breakneck Hill, then you're,
Okay.
it keeps it clean.
Thank you.
If you want, you know, if the committee decides you want that, if you need it there.
I think it's important because that's a key location where the residents are coming off of Walnut Drive, and they definitely walk their dogs in the town forest. Now, I don't see, well, on occasion I'll see dog waste, but I don't see a lot of dog bags. That's probably because they're not using them.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
just saw a very interesting article I meant to send that, and we've seen it before, but this one really went into the level of contamination in the waste that, you
Ooh.
know.
That would be really helpful if you could share it, like beginning to collect kind of a library of reference materials for that stuff. That might be a great addition to the project, is including a repository on our sites to, we have a resources section on trails, but it might be something we want to also include.
Yeah, I just saw it today and I meant to send it out, so I'll do that.
I feel like somebody just sent me something like that. So maybe if it wasn't you, Freddie, I don't know who it was.
Wasn't me. It was a new group in Somerville, in the cities are really having trouble with this.
Are they? Yeah.
But, you know, for the people who think scooping it off to the side, as long as it's not on the trail, is okay.
Right.
It's like, it's not. The
Right.
bacteria load is just, you know, pretty.
Right.
Anyhow, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just think, I
Sorry.
guess, so I don't say it all the time, as you're going through all of this, if you feel there's a need for a sign somewhere that's not showing here because of funding, I personally would support at least considering, and I would probably vote yay wherever we think there's a need that we put them.
Got it.
Because you're only going to do this once, and if you're designing the signs and we're going to pay to have them installed or get people to install them, whatever, just do it once. You're putting the effort in.
Yeah, I agree.
Kat, like all towns that have MS4 permits, which is for like urban towns with stormwater issues, they like have to do education as part of that. And I'm sure there's a lot of, like, I don't know something off the top of my head, but I feel like there's databases of like different sign designs for this kind of, educational signage.
That's interesting.
So
I wonder
there's
if
probably
anyone on
tons
the-
of examples out there. It's just a question of picking what we like. So I don't know if you want me to try to Google or something, or if
No,
you want to Google, but it would be like MS4. It's for the MS4 permitting.
Okay, I can definitely do that. I can also reach out to Melissa, and see if, I know that, I thought it was, I'm gonna forget her name.
Yeah, actually, she may have access to, like, I wonder if she has access to like some databases, as part of, like MACC or something.
Yeah,
Sometimes like towns come together as part of regional like collaboratives to work on these things together. But maybe she has access to stuff through MACC.
yeah.
So
We used to belong, and it's unfortunate, when we had the watershed initiative, there was one for the Hosuasco watershed. We were working on this, whether, we did a huge outreach and education program. The town paid in like $2,000 a year to get all the information. And I still have some of those. I should, not from the town, but from, because I used to sit on the board. The flyers we had banners, we had trifold. There was some of a dog going into the water. I'll see if I can find those. Those are the ones that we wouldn't have to recreate.
Yeah.
When we were talking about sending out a mailer or something.
Yeah.
So I'll dig those out. We used to do stormwater stenciling and everything. I mean, okay, that got not so great with the spray paint maybe, but we did not toxic ones. I did thousands of spray painting. Anyhow, back in the day.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, so those are really helpful references. And then just to close this up, so we had talked about interpretive sign. I had included in the budget 1 or 2 interpretive signs, and I think we were going to maybe schedule a site visit to see where we want those signs to be. So if we only choose 1, that's fine. The topics were, wildlife or environmental was one focus, or it could also include some history. I'm very interested in a historical, like kind of what was this land used for before, but I don't know if we have access to that information or could get it. It seems reasonable that we could, but I've tried to ask around, and the Historical Society does not have a lot of data. I can tap them again, but they didn't have a lot of information when I'd asked them a long time ago. So I don't know if the committee has any opinion on whether we do 1 interpretive sign or 2, try to do 1 or 2.
I guess it's how much material do we have to cover? I like the idea of the historical one. When Tim Kemper used to be a member of the committee, he would tell the story of Shunpike, which was, it was kind of like a fun story, right? They were shunning the other road, and because they didn't want to pay the toll, and they took this alternate road when it was, sort of a historic colonial path.
Yeah.
I don't know how true that is.
I think it's probably somewhat true. I mean, who knew Route 9 was a toll road? But I really would love to, and it may not be timely for this, but Bay Path is a road that goes through the state, and in some places they really highlight. And there's even a big marker in downtown Hopkinton about Bay Path, and it was an original trail of I believe the Nipmunks in this area. And I think given the current interest and connecting to that, the officials there because of some other issues in town, it might be really cool to connect to it once. And I had found some other town out in more central Mass really did a big deal about it. So it's like a big deal, but we don't even deal with the fact that it's we don't celebrate it. And I don't know that we have the resources to look into that, but if we just even did a little bit, and then we could, add to it online somewhere, but at least reference and find out exactly what it is. Because, I think it was important.
I like that idea.
Part of the town forest trail is in fact part of the Bay Path Trail.
The what?
Is the trails in the town forest part of Bay Path?
Bay Path.
It is.
That's the name of the road.
The trail.
It used to be a road.
Right.
Which they made the road.
Now, is that the same as the Shun?
Yeah.
Thing?
So before there were Shun Pikes, there were indigenous people living here, and we often took their trails and made them they had a whole network of transportation that we called them like little trails in the woods, but they were bigger than that, and commerce and
and this is one of them.
That's my understanding. And it's I don't know how many Bay Paths there are in the state that became roads that are still celebrate. I think it's connected.
Yeah, I guess I was always confused. I've always heard Bay Path, but I didn't is it like literally one path that connects all these towns, or is it a series?
Well,
of paths?
I lived on Old Connecticut Path.
Yeah.
And that was the same thing. And it was the original stagecoach to Connecticut. And my house I lived in was a stagecoach stop. So, and again, that was another indigenous people's road before we took it.
What if maybe, because I'm particularly interested in the subject of the Native Americans that were here before us, and any way we could tie that in as it's relevant. Do you think we could reach out? I could reach out to the Nipmuc I think there's the tribal, I don't know how to say it, the tribal community.
There's a council and there's a chief.
Okay, and see if is information that they have that they could share relevant to this area. Is it worth a question?
It's very well worth it. There's other inquiries going on right now that, this would be a positive one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Very, very interested. So, okay, great. So that's that. And I have some examples of the signage below. Mm-hmm.
And then for Breakneck Hill, to me, it would make sense to focus on the history as, the fact that it was an old apple orchard and the tornado, but also, the current, I think we have some pretty significant things going on with the grassland birds and the pollination habitat, which ties history past, agriculture history there. And the hurricane, or was it, I'm sorry, the tornado I meant, and then the value of what we're doing today.
Mm-hmm.
That might be too much. I don't know. I mean, that seems like it's great to say, oh, we'd love all this, but somebody has to put it together and write it. And that's more than a term paper. And when do you have to, like, if you do the rest of it first, can the interpretive signage come as a little bit later? So that you get the stuff moving and we can really dig into the more interpretive stuff. And when does it have to be done by? I forget.
Right. So I think I have a proposed schedule further down that we can hear about, but just to give us a sneak peek of what we were talking about last time and to tie it into this schedule is we were thinking about maybe rolling out the dog waste education campaign like in March, and then wrapping it up with like an Earth Day festivity perhaps, and a guided hike, which was budgeted to have like a nature hike in the forest or some version of the Breakneck Hill forest to showcase the town signs the trail signs that we've put up and some of the other things. So I was thinking that the interpretive signage might go up so that people, as we're giving a tour, could see some of that. I had budgeted for 2 interpretive signs. I had I had thought about them being in the town forest initially, but perhaps if I like the idea of including something at Breakneck Hill, maybe that's where we can kind of see if there's additional budget to do something like that with, since we're doing signage, and that at that point we might be able to separate the projects out. Like if we wanted to do something for Breakneck, but we didn't have the bandwidth, is that something we could punt just a little bit longer and do it in the right way that you've described?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yes.
Because, you know, not to tie up your timeline, but I just think doing the historical one, I've been not heavy searching, but looking into the Bay Path for years and not coming up, without going to, I don't know where you would find out, but without contacting the tribe, I haven't come up with a lot. Besides, I think there's a lot to be interested in by what other towns have done. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not part of that original Bay Path.
Let's find out. I'd love to find out.
I'm pretty sure it is, though.
Okay. So any other questions on this before I jump ahead to some examples of what signage may be? And it doesn't mean that, we're finalized here. It's just wanted to move things along. So we're not just talking about this.
I don't have any other questions.
Okay.
I don't really have a question about it, but just for the minutes, is this the scope of what was already submitted?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But okay, but it says draft scope, but it's just
the whole document is a draft, right?
Okay.
And so what I included at the top here is the project objectives that came from the proposal, the locations, just so we know what we're referring to, and the project scope that came from the proposal as well, with a little bit, and I just kind of tied it into some actionable items, so we understand to kind of set the tone for our conversation. And I think if we're okay, we can include a copy of this in the minutes for a quick reference, if that's useful. So you don't have to.
I know we should. It's the document shared at our open meeting, and we should include it. This is the proposal that was, I mean, a lot of this language is straight from what got funded by Choate. So we don't know. They may share it on their own website for all we know. I don't know.
I just reserve the right, if I see a typo, I would like to correct it. I'm full.
I didn't see any, but I wasn't looking.
Okay, so the next piece is just, and we don't have to go through it much. I just wanted to demonstrate the budget or to outline the budget and how things had been, proposed, which was the 2 interpretive signage. The costs they were based off of, what's the name of this? Is it Genesis? I forget the name of the sign place. Gemini, thank you.
Twins, there's 2 brothers that are twins. That's how you remember.
Okay, so they had provided a quote. So some of this may fluctuate a little bit now that everything's more expensive. But this was how we came up with the budget itself. So the dog waste signs, there was one for Breakneck Hill, one for Town Forest, and the rest is throughout town.
And so adding one or more to any of these categories is not a make or break decision for our stewardship budget.
Right, you can see the prices are pretty reasonable here. Like the interpretive signage, if it's $65. Now, it's not one of those lovely interpretive signs from the rail trail in Holliston, which has its double post pedestal sign that's, nice and beautiful. It's an aluminum sign. So if we wanted to change the specs and certain, maybe the aluminum signs are good enough for Town Forest and you wanted to step it up a notch for Breakneck Hill and really highlight some things. So the price would just be adjusted accordingly. Okay, so I think this is just going through that. We'll skip over. Any questions on the budget?
No.
Okay, great. So fun stuff. So
when you go back up to the budget,
sure.
just quick, can you, as we go along, highlight like which ones have already been done? Like the Eagle Scout project, right? So
yeah,
I think that's the only one.
Is that the only one? So
that is the only one. Yeah.
Maybe have a line there or some way so that we know as you
completed.
It was just a.
What month was it completed? Do you think? Was it?
It was November or October, I think.
I think that just helps us.
Yeah, it is. It's a very good idea. And I'm just gonna highlight it. Okie doke. Okay, so we talked about kicking off the community service survey, and we thought about maybe waiting until it's warmer so that people are wanting to get out into the town forest, so early spring. And we were going to use some of the town forest management plan and the botanist report to kind of use some of the flora and fauna that are in the forest to highlight some names. So here I just pulled together some lists. I was using the forest management plan. I did not go to the botanist plan because I felt like I had enough to kind of go with at this point. So I'll put it to the committee how you want to review this list if you want to take some time with it. And then I think Joyce, in the honor of open meeting law, making sure they can just send it back to me if it's after the meeting, or do you guys want to discuss it? I want to be sensitive to time.
I also, I would have a question, exactly how many trail names do we need? Because this is a lot of potential names.
Right, and the idea was to put it to vote and have a select number of names for the community to choose ones that we have highlighted that we think might work. Right. So how many?
How many trails? Like how many total names do we need?
So let's look at the. So I have the number, but I don't have the trail actually. Like how many trail names itself. So I think it's 5 to 6 if. Based on my initial count. So let me just think about this. So there's a red trail, and whether we name the little connector trails is another question. So it gives us an opportunity to use more names, but it's a small forest. So too many names isn't really a good thing. It could be confusing. So if I just pick the main ones right now, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. If we do connectors, it's
6.
5, 6, 7. There's a little tiny one right here. It's nothing, but it's something. So what did I say? It was
Each one would need a little signpost. I think it's getting a little bit much.
It does. So can we talk about that? Because even just noting on the map was overwhelming, because at every intersection, technically you need to give some guidance if you're going to do trail names. So how do you do that? And I don't want to be over signing. That's definitely a negative. So
when you don't have signage, don't you mark them with colors?
We do. So everything's already. So that's a great point. Everything's already color coded.
So we don't need trail names to let people know what to do.
So then maybe for connectors, we really don't need trail names, and only for the 4 big trails.
Yep.
I was thinking she was talking about the segments.
Oh,
like
no,
all of the blue should be one name.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is the thinking, Freddie. It's just each of these triangles represent an intersection where technically you would indicate something there. But yes, to your point, that the trail is only one blue, and that would just be one name throughout. Everything is color coded. So for example, if we just chose to do major intersections, and we even choose a color to put on the sign so they know that Rocky Narrow is orange, and so you just look for the orange blaze instead of a trail name, right? So that might be one way of doing less signs, but still providing some guidance.
Now, sorry, I'm changing my opinion, because if you have all of the blue named, you can't see my cursor, but this little orange between the blue and the red, if it didn't have a name, I think its feelings would get hurt. I think I can see that being cut off, whatever, or, whatever your names are, but.
Oh, I like cut off. I didn't think of that. That's actually a great way of indicating the smaller. Yeah.
Cut off.
Mm-hmm.
So if there are 7, you said?
Well, I think I said 6, but no.
You said 7 if it counts all the little connectors. Otherwise, it's 4.
Right, 4 or right, 7. 1, 2, 3, 7. Yep, 4 or 7. And Bay Path is obviously going to stay Bay Path. That's not an option. We're not going to change.
Can you go down to the list?
Sure. And we can reduce it or add, to whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my concern would just be, it's like, if you're only looking for 4 to 7, this is a really lot of names, and we're not gonna get that many votes for, they could just be
It's
so
gonna
spread
spread out.
out.
Yep, yeah, no, and there's actually 8 if we consider naming the little vernal pool, the pond, that little cutoff. If we for
I
that.
like the intention, but I would take out Coyote and Fisher Cat Alley. It will scare parents away.
Okay, I did
That's
see 2
my-
coyotes the other day. They're huge.
That's my thought. I'm one of
That's
other
fine.
members, so
That's okay.
Yeah,
Don't
I
take
think
those
that that's
I saw that and it's like, yeah, I'm not going
I'm
down
okay
there with
with
my
that.
little kids.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
okay with that too.
And the other one, like,
Have we seen wood ducks on Wood Duck Pond?
Well, why'd you put a wood duck box in
To
there?
get them there.
I have not seen a wood duck there, but that
Have
doesn't
we
mean,
heard the
guess
Wood
I
Frog
don't-
Symphony?
pardon? I have heard it.
I did too, I thought. I just want to make sure I wasn't alone in that.
I don't know if it was a wood frog. I was hoping that Jenny could help us. I
Did it
did
sound
look
like
up
a duck?
the symphony.
Yeah.
No, it sounded like there was definitely frogs.
No, wood frogs sound like ducks.
Oh, no, then it wasn't that. It sounded like maybe the spring peeper. I don't know. Who sings in the spring? What
Yeah,
little
wood-
frog?
I don't know all the different sounds.
The
I know
northern-
wood ducks
I-
because I was out with
To me,
Mimi.
it's just nature sounds.
Out with Mimi checking out open space and I said, oh, listen to the ducks. And she goes, Freddie, those are wood frogs.
Yeah.
And then
Oh.
2 years later, I was at Breakneck Hill with my husband and he goes, Freddie, listen to the ducks. And I go, oh no, those are wood frogs.
I think I know the sound you're referring to. It's like a deep pluck.
It's like, kind of.
But no,
That just sounded like an Amazon car truck backing up. I don't know.
yeah, but no, they're pretty cool.
Um,
I would take out Oak
And
Hill
all
Lane.
these,
That's a street. Let's get
yeah, it
rid of
sounds
that.
like a street.
I
I-
don't know. I'm not sure about naming all the little cutoffs. I mean, maybe you just have like a sign that says to whatever, to
Oh, that's smart. Yep, that's
to
smart.
the other trail name.
Yeah.
That's still a sign though.
Yeah, it is still a sign, but
I like that though. It helps. That's the intersection guidance that I was
Mhm.
kind of thinking that might be useful.
uh-huh.
I would take Nipmunka Alley off because it could be
Yeah.
not proper. And I would
Yeah.
take off Pike Trail because that's Bay Path.
Well, Pike is the Pike Trail, the trail along the Pike. And I was, Nipmuc,
Oh.
like I was curious, like, is using the word Nipmuc insulting?
No,
Just because you're trying to honor the Native Americans that were here before.
I object to the alley. What does that mean?
Yeah, I think also the alley too. Yeah.
And I would
Maybe
check
kind of-
before I said anything, like I was thinking Nipmunk Way, but like why? What do we know? And I think finding the history of
Well,
Bay Path.
we know that Native Americans, the Nipmuc tribe was in this area. That's why I chose it. So we can take it off, but I was like really hoping that if we're gonna, incorporate history, it was just one way. So
I'm
no,
not saying,
I hear you.
no, I'm thinking maybe we should find out more. Because I think going from the bad type of honoring, you don't want, it's like you don't want to obliviate connections, but is it the right kind of type of thing, naming a trail? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think there's a lot we have to learn about. And were there pitch pines in there a lot? I'm sure you saw the plans. I'm just not
Yeah,
recalling.
like are all these plants represented?
Yeah, I
She
took
saw
them
the
all-
forest stewardship, but
I took them all from the stewardship plan.
so the
So
problem.
there are pitch pines there. I thought those were like a cape thing, but I don't know.
I picture them in a sandy outwash, so
Yeah.
I'm thinking if we had it, they might be isolated and not near any of the trails.
Well, that's the other thing is like understanding how many of a tree it is and whether it's worthwhile putting it in as a main trail name.
Yeah, so I'm not sure.
We know there's huckleberries. We know there's
Lots of
hickories.
huckleberry.
Yeah, we know there's witch
No.
hazels.
And
Is there, do we know,
the
and spice bush, do we know there's spice bush?
you know, I went looking and looking and looking because I could have sworn I saw them there one year, and then I went there a year and I looked and looked and looked, and maybe they just hadn't been in bloom yet. But
Which one?
the spice bush and also the is it
was a cute
winterberry?
name, wasn't it? Spice Bush Alley.
Oh, when,
I'm
wait,
not
what
saying to
about-
take it off. We need to find out if it's there, and you can do it with a oh, it's a little late now because the berries have probably been eaten fast by the
Well,
birds.
yeah, so I was gonna say, I have this thing where I like it when there's, the letters, the first initials are the same.
Yeah, alliteration.
So I was going to propose, well, instead of winterberry, you could do wintergreen. But so like, I guess the ones that I like a lot are like witch hazel way, sweet pepper bush path. And then other ones could be white pine path. And then perhaps other ones that don't have that kind of the first letter thing could be
I don't.
trails.
Can you explain what you're talking about?
I don't, there's a term for it when like
No, no.
when the first letter of all the words start with the same, when it's the same
alliteration.
letter. What?
So you mean the whole town forest would begin with W?
No.
No, I'm just saying the names that I particularly am drawn to, but then obviously you can't do that for everything.
It's alliteration.
But you just made
yeah,
you went from winterberry to wintergreen.
Did you want wintergreen in there?
I didn't understand why you would have wintergreen.
because that's definitely there. That's just like the little plant that. Well, you
Right.
said you didn't know if there were winterberries, so
I thought that was your WW. I'm sorry. I was.
yeah.
confused.
No, it is a WW.
I was thinking, what's the
but-
G got to do with it? I think too much. Sorry. What is green?
But then and then I would also say like, but then other ones where that doesn't work with like the first letter thing, like Red Maple Trail is good, or Vernal Pool. I don't know if I super love the alley things because it's like
Yeah, I don't like
forest.
alley.
But the Vernal Pool Trail.
But I like vernal pool. I don't know, 'cause vernal pool, it's not, I don't know. I like the ones that are like the name of a kind of a plant or a,
And
other
Yeah,
one.
because vernal
Like-
pool, you're going there, but you're not.
Yeah,
On the,
I
you know what I
like-
mean?
and I also didn't care for a Rocky Narrow Trail. But I like the ones that are like huckleberry, sweet pepper, where somebody's gonna learn the name of a plant.
Well, is there a rocky?
Yeah, it's one of the side trails. It's a little rocky narrow because it's narrow and it's next
Yeah.
to a huge outcrop. So I always call it Rocky Narrow when I walk by it.
Well, could there be just call it
Well, I
Rocky
like
Narrow?
the way it sounds, actually.
Yeah, you
Could it
could.
just be the Rocky Narrow?
Is that yeah? I don't.
Yeah, I
think
like
the
the
word-
Rocky
I don't.
Narrow.
I don't think the word trail needs to appear
Mhm.
everywhere. It can.
I think
be-
just Rocky Narrow works.
Okay. And there's like a Rocky Narrows woods in Sherburne. You
Well,
guys-
to
Yeah, that's a
that end,
big
if we
deal.
Don't need the word trail. Do we need way? Do we need?
Sometimes
Path,
it's,
do we-
sometimes you do.
Well, it's kind of fun. Well, that's Witch Hazel Way or Huckleberry Way. It gives, I don't know, it's just a little like, it rolls off the tongue a little.
Mhm.
And Red Maple Trail works.
Mhm.
Spotted Salamander Way.
I think that's a little too long.
It is, and I was thinking that the long.
Why
like,
do you have spotted? Just take out
Yeah.
spotted.
What about
Just-
Yeah.
Because I was thinking of the boardwalk path that has the fake spotted salamander.
Yeah, but just call it Salamander Way. It doesn't need to be spotted.
Yep, good.
And then,
or just Salamander Trail.
Okay.
So how many are we down to if we need, just want to make sure if once this
Well,
goes out.
I understand why you're calling it Pike Trail, but you know,
Oh, you can
I
take
would
the-
say,
That's fine.
let's not highlight that.
Well,
And then we have Shun Pike as the nickname, the historical, so it would be confusing if we ever do that history.
Yeah.
You could call it like, loud,
loud
noisy trail.
Don't come down here, Path.
So how about the Roaring Trail?
Well, if we were worried that, so we were worried one of them was too long, and to that end, Wood Frog Symphony Alley might be also too
Yeah.
long.
No, just take out alley or
What
Frog
about-
Symphony.
How about,
I mean, I like the idea.
I was trying to identify a frog that they might find.
yeah, well, what about just Wood Frog Trail?
Wood Frog Trek.
Wood Frog Way.
Wood Frog Trek. No one's jumping up
Yeah,
and down on my
that's good, Wood
Trek.
Frog Way. Mhm.
That rolls.
That's got our W.
It's alliteration.
Mhm. Yeah, that's the word. Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
All right.
By the way, I keep getting bad network quality. Are you guys all good?
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
seeing
we're
that
good.
too.
Keep
But you
freezing.
kind of, yeah, you get a little spotty here and there, but we can hear you.
So Spice Bush, you know,
Yeah, if we're not sure if it's actually there,
and it needs to be substantial.
It says the understory vegetation includes high bush, blueberry, swamp azalea, winterberry, spice bush, arrowwood, buckthorn, and ferns. That's where I got it from.
Right. Did it say
If you
where?
don't- if you don't
Did
think
he
it's-
map it?
Well, no. Well, maybe. I don't know.
oh,
Yeah.
okay, so you're saying Winterberry is definitely there then?
Well, it's definitely listed in the forest management plan.
Mhm.
Back when he did.
No, it's there.
Okay.
So how many we down to?
Actually.
Well, if we have too many and none get a lot, we can just, that leaves us like people participated and we get to choose.
I
So there's 23 and we took off 1, 2,
think there's like 16 or so.
6, 7 off of 23. Yeah.
Yeah, let's get rid of some more.
Still 60.
I'd get rid of White Pine Path. It's kind of common.
6, 7, white pine.
Oh, I like that one.
Okay, leave it. There's 2 P's there, so let's leave that.
Get rid of.
Yeah, get rid of Wood Duck Pond because it's not a trail. It's a pond.
Yeah.
Wait, so the spice bush is that somewhere?
It states it, but I
Oh,
don't know.
it's okay, it does. Okay, I would rather have it be like trail or something instead of alley.
What is the alley an issue with? Is just that it reminds you of a dirty alley.
Yeah, and like an urban thing, I don't know. Yes. A dirty urban thing.
And I don't know, like, if we can include the word trail. I guess we could on the sign.
You can take away Wintergreen Way. Like if Winterberry is definitely there, then you can take away Wintergreen.
Well, what does the committee like better, wintergreen or winterberry? Do you love one or the other? Because they're similar. So if we wanted to reduce, that would be a way to do so, which is.
Well, they're not similar as far as what you're looking at.
Well, I know.
Similar in words, not in.
Yeah. So is there a favorite of the committee?
I think the other thing that's a little tricky is like the hickory. I'm trying to think where they are.
Well,
Are you going by, like, do the trails go by a lot of these, like, there's interior land, right, that the trails don't go by? Or is it pretty well covered?
interior land that the trails go by. What does
Don't
that
go
mean?
by. So like,
Oh, 'cause
if
some
all
of
the
it's
trees
somewhat-
nowhere near where a trail goes by,
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, we can do our best with that. I would like the trail to be representative of what its name is, but if it's not perfect, I'm a perfectionist too, so I'm gonna let that one go unless someone really. It's my practice. But we can try to do our best. So this is, and there, the idea is to encourage people to get out and kind of, see, but I don't even know if it's in March, if the trees are going to be identifiable at that time. They're not really leaving, there's not a lot of foliage until what, April?
yeah.
Freddie, what was the name of the guy who did the survey recently? I'm just trying to search my email.
The botanist report?
Yeah.
Charlie Eisner.
Oh, Charlie.
Eisner,
Okay.
he is really incredible. But, you know, I may not have given him great guidance, but I think we were looking for some of Dr. G. Gear's plants was sort of a,
I'm
And I
gonna try
just-
and move to see if I get a better connection. To the
Oh,
another-
Eisman, Charlie Eisman.
yep.
So winterberry or wintergreen? Raise your hand for one or the other.
Well, if there's winterberry there, that's really nice, but then people go in and cut it. But wintergreen, the same thing, right? People cut wintergreen.
Oh, yeah, I don't want to advertise winterberry if people were gonna go and cut it.
You know, there's a nice chunk along the trail at the golf course going towards White Bagley.
Mhm.
Enjoy it while you can.
Okay, so that.
Or the birds
narrows
eat it.
down some.
Right on Route 85. I'm surprised I haven't seen a car there with people getting out with clippers.
Anything else stand out? I think does this feel like a good place to transition so I don't monopolize our time?
Yeah, I'm not, wait, so he surveyed in the town forest, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not, well, whatever. I'm searching under pressure. I found the email from Breakneck Hill, but not the town forest one.
Is it a separate one? I don't remember.
I think so, because I think it was done at 2 different times. I thought he
think
did.
he
I thought he
did
did
two
one
different.
first.
He did one just Breakneck Hill, and then he came back and did Breakneck Hill and Town Forest, maybe the same
Okay.
day. I don't know
Okay.
that for sure that it was the same day.
Okay.
So the sign below the image, just while Jenny's looking for that. The sign below is an example of what we were thinking about. So have it either be painted brown, so we're trying to keep it very neutral and blend in so it doesn't pop too much. And it can either be painted brown or it can be a natural, like a stain.
Not blue and gold.
No, that's for other reasons.
That's for the neon sign. I like the brown.
Yeah.
And I like the blue and gold. I was just
I
being
know.
silly.
I know.
I think it served the purpose we wanted it to.
It certainly did. So any votes on brown paint versus stain, which would just bring out like a natural oak color would? The town, the forest, the signs that we did for the Trails Committee on the kiosks, it was like a red oak stain, which just made it look like a natural finish. It was a nice finish. So I'd be open to either one, the brown paint or the finish. Any thoughts from Joyce or Jenny?
Oh, what about sassafras? Something with sorry, I'm reading.
I like that.
Something with sassafras. Anyway, yeah, I mean, there's like a paragraph where he says do you want me to read it really fast or not?
Yes, please.
Okay. The forest in the portion north of I-90 is dominated by red oak with other canopy species, including black oak, white oak, black birch, red maple, black cherry, pignut hickory, bitternut hickory, and white pine. Black birch, witch hazel, and hillside blueberry are abundant in the understory, with other species including American chestnut, hop hornbeam, beaked hazelnut, huckleberry, lowbush blueberry, maple leaf viburnum, sassafras, wild sarsaparilla, white wood aster, bluestem goldenrod, rattlesnake root, cowwheat, whorled loosestrife, striped pipsissewa, partridge berry, carrion flower, hairy Solomon seal, false Solomon seal, wild oats, Indian cucumber, Canada mayflower, various sedges, northern long-awned woodgrass, flattened oakgrass, hay-scented fern, and tree club mosses. All right, kind of that's the most of it, I guess.
Now our list is getting longer again.
Well,
I like
I mean,
pig
it's
nut
just.
instead of hickory.
I do too. And we have huckleberry and they're saying it's a lot of blueberry. And I think it's really hard to tell the difference between huckleberry and blueberry.
I think we found
Yeah.
there was a lot of huckleberry, not blueberry, along one of the trails. And I
Yeah.
know there's a lot of
We
sweet
get
pepper
it
bush.
right.
Huh?
Did you say pig
Yes.
nut?
And I remember a lot of witch hazel. And I think
Yeah.
we found black birch.
We did.
Yes.
I like black.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
I mean, I think that was the one that I was, that smells. Right?
Yeah.
Black birch is the
So
one
instead
that
of
smells
white
like-
birch, let's do black birch.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Black
Yeah.
birch.
Yes.
Oh, but it
we'll-
doesn't have your WW.
I know.
Black birch way still sounds good. Or
Yeah, I like
Black Birch Boulevard.
yeah, we don't have boulevards.
I know. I was just joking.
That's cute. Is it pig nut hickory? Is that what you said, Jenny? Pig nut?
Yeah, but
Pig
is that
nut
too
is a
long?
kind of hickory.
That's kind of long. Yeah.
Can we just
I
do
would
pig
still, I
nut?
would still probably, I would just say,
Why do
Really?
hickory? What? Pig
no,
nut?
I would just do hickory
Okay.
Just hickory.
because there's multiple hickory species. I don't know.
I like pig nut.
Shaggy
I
bark.
like it as long. Do we like Solomon seal? I like Solomon seal.
It's just that it's very long. I like it too,
Sounds
but it's very
like
long.
a scary movie I saw.
Joyce.
Yeah, was that a Stephen King thing?
Yeah, or something.
Okay. So do we feel good about this? And if anyone has any thoughts over the night, you can.
Yeah.
send them
Where
to
are we
me.
putting it out to the community?
So we're going to do a survey monkey. So I can either ask the town, I think the town has a survey tool, but if they're going to control everything and I have to wait and go through them and it's during town meeting and there's any delays, I'm not very interested in any of that. So to streamline things, I've gotten permission from my boss to use our survey monkey. So we could just, if there's no issues with the committee and me doing that. So we would put it out everywhere, like just through our outreach channels and see what we get for feedback. And they're going to vote on the most popular names. We're going to ask them to vote on what, top 7 or 8. And then it will be the committee's
I
choice.
think you can only have them vote on if Bay Path's a given, do they get to vote on it?
Perhaps not.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably not. Yes. So then.
But if you give them 7 or 8, then that gives us wiggle room to decide which ones.
Yeah, and we might.
Because I think we need to look and make sure there's a trail near that species.
Exactly. And I think
Yeah.
Well,
that was the whole reason we decided, the committee had suggested that we choose where the trail name goes so that it's consistent with what's on the trail. So we-
Yeah.
Right. Right.
when do you think you're putting these trails in March?
The sign, so I'll show you the schedule later, but yes, so we would, for example, the first week of March is my proposal. We send out the survey, start getting feedback, and the second week in March, we summarize and we get the signs. We start printing the signs with the sign guy, and ideally, and I'll check with him, of course, on schedule and stuff. We get everything printed and installed by Earth Day because we want to have our guided hike. Is the way it all kind of comes together in my little brain at the moment. Something like that.
Your little brain at the moment. Tracking could be a fun thing. And where was I? Oh, we went to the Christmas tree lighting at Chestnut Hill Farm, and we were walking on the trail, and we saw in the mud, because remember were you there, Joyce, the year we did, or maybe Jenny, we did a trail tracking event at Breakneck Hill, and there was no snow, so but there was mud. Well, as Mimi and I were walking down the road in Chestnut Hill Farm, we saw a place, and we saw the deer footprints, and then I saw right there, same place, rabbit footprints, and then it was either a dog or coyote footprints. And it was like, this is so crazy, that's an animal crossing right here when they could have crossed anywhere.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, in the mud, you can find your trail prints.
Yeah. So open to ideas of who can lead the hike, but something that will be fun for everyone and draw a crowd.
Well,
Okay.
we do the mushroom one again. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, this year would have been the nice year to do that.
Yes, it would have been.
Just so many of them. Oh, so many different colors. So anyway, this quote says 5 to 6, but that was the initial. And I'm wondering if we do 13 or 11 to 12 signs, or whatever the number turns out, does our price per sign go down? I wonder if there's a little discount there. So that might be a way of saving a little
Something
money.
to ask.
Right.
Ooh, what about Pipsissewa Path?
Oh, that's a good one.
I love that.
It doesn't sound good. It sounds like I'll never be able to pronounce it again.
Look, come on. It's like
Spelling it is
spelled the way
problem.
it's said. What? Well, she only has to spell it once.
And then also it will make everyone be able to be saying it. And then if you
Yes.
put it in there, it'd be interesting to see how many people start saying Pipsissewa.
Can you
Mhm.
spell it?
Yeah,
Do you
I
want
would
to?
can't
rather
see-
have.
Yeah.
I can't
It's-
say it, so I can't
It's
spell it.
PIP, assuming Charlie spelled it correctly. SISSEWA. No, I learned that one from, the guy that I learned a lot of plants from when I used to do walks, and that's one that I love.
Wait a minute. The guy you used to learn plants from?
So that's Boot
Oh,
Beltwell.
Boo.
Yes, that I
yeah.
had suggested trying to get
Yeah.
him for
Okay.
to lead a something.
Didn't your dad used to do stuff too? Don't you have heritage?
What?
Was it your dad was a native plant guy?
My father-in-law is a
Oh.
botanist in North Carolina.
That was it. Okay.
Okay. So the next quick topic is town forest permitted use signs. So we don't really have,
And
go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say, I was going back in our minutes from our last conversation about permitted uses back almost a year ago, when Jim had sent around a list, and I thought we had finalized it, but I couldn't find that we ever had. But I think part of this discussion should also be how synchronized should the rules be for us to Breakneck Hill, and whether it's the same rules. And some of the things we talked about last March, when we last talked about the rules for Breakneck Hill and updating them, included things like, definitely you want to document some of the prohibited uses, but you also want to say, the more welcoming
Yeah.
kind of welcome to this property, and enjoy walking, birding, dog walking, before you like all the don't do this, don't do that.
Agreed. Yeah.
So I think, yeah.
And thank you, Joyce. So I couldn't find a list either. I thought we'd put it on the website. So
Yeah, I
I
remember talking to Melissa.
Yeah, and I reached out to her this morning and said, hey, did we do this? And she's like, she thought we had to, but she couldn't find it. So all I could find were the yellow signs, which were just a few prohibited lists, just a small list, but I remember a longer list, but I couldn't find it. So I just put the small list here, and thought that we could either add to the prohibited activities, or this was what we wanted to say. And then I put, so the first one is, and I think to your point, Joyce, I'm fine. I think the permitted and prohibited uses can be similar. The only exception is if we want to allow bikes in the town forest. I don't know that it's going to be a popular bike location. The only trouble with that is the Sudbury Valley trustees. They don't have bikes on their trail. I'd mentioned that I'd spoken to Dan Stimson a year or more ago and would want to revisit this before we finalize it. But he said he didn't mind as long as there was proper signage if we did want to allow bikes in the town forest. So I'm open to whatever the committee feels should happen there.
I have a couple of questions. I missed Joyce talking first. But the reason not to have bikes was always the impact to trail, not to prevent people from having fun. And the concern is if you allow it, sometimes what happens is then it gets listed somewhere that lots of people come with mountain bikes And
Yeah.
you know, they're not there now. And what happens when you don't allow it, like at Breakneck Hill, we don't go chasing people who have, you know, when you see someone on a bike, you don't go say, oh, you can't do it. But I saw when some people were doing a lot of it, it did start to impact the trails. And I think if you don't allow it, you don't get as much usage, even though, you know, some people will do it. But if you do allow it, there's like, it was like the time when, because we allow dogs, we got listed in a newspaper article. So people started coming from all over Metro West to it was listed as a great place to walk dogs. Hopefully that's died down a bit, but
That's fine. We don't need to include bikes. I don't think the bike community is going to want to like jump into the town forest and be like, yes, this is prime real estate for biking. But to your point, I'm fine not including bikes.
But I don't know the reasons to include it, because you don't want to just not let people go anywhere anymore. So,
Well, it is true in Southborough, you cannot bike on a trail. So let's be consistent.
the other thing I was going to say, and I don't know if Joyce said this, that instead of the way you have it prohibited, that you want to be inviting. So it would be something like the public is invited to enjoy this property and the following uses are allowed.
Yep.
Blah, blah, blah. And then prohibited uses include, but are not limited to blah, blah, blah. And then please see the website for full details on allowed and prohibited uses.
Yes, and it's not listed in the order that it would go on a sign. It's listed so that we can have a discussion about it. I was always in favor of having welcome first, and here you can do this, and here's a small list of stuff you can do.
Okay, didn't
Totally
say that,
on
so.
board. Totally on board with everything that's been proposed.
Okay, and definitely stay on the trails for both. No motorized vehicles for both.
Well, is there, I guess the question is, do we have a longer prohibited list that we want to have listed other than what was listed on the board when we?
So
created
what
this
Jim
template?
had originally sent around for discussion, it's a long list, so I'm just going to tick through it.
Yeah.
No trespassing after dark, no motorized vehicles, no ATVs, bikes, horses, or alcohol.
Yeah.
No hunting or trapping, no fires, no disposing of trash or yard waste, no removal of vegetation, wood, soil, animals, and the like, no drones, rockets, or model planes of any type. Yeah, that.
I would
that
take
was
camp out
like
of,
kind of like a comprehensive list, of which I think the idea being we highlight a few as prohibited and then the rest being on the website.
so I would take camp out of campfires, because people have fires that aren't campfires and will think that.
No
So do you want to
fires.
send that list, Joyce, to me?
Yes.
If you don't mind, and I can, because we still have to like approve a sign, right? So these are just kind of understanding what we wanted for the uses, and then we still have to approve like what it looks like. So this no longer means anything. Okay, and this doesn't matter either. Okay, great.
I think the list from Jim is in our published notes from around February or March of this year on
Okay,
the
I looked at last.
Stewardship website. 'Cause I think that's where I found it, because I was like frantically looking for it before this meeting. After you sent your thing, like as a good starting place.
Yeah.
Because I thought we had gotten further, but I think we got so busy over the next couple of weeks with that young woman who did the installation there, that this one fell through the cracks, like finishing up the rules. This is a really great opportunity to revisit it and
To stay on the trails there anywhere.
It's not, because it's here, but this isn't really meant to be that, but it's we want to capture that thought.
So it's either stay on trails or no off trail.
Well, this might be under the dog waste sign. People think they're on the trails and it's okay for the dogs to run off trail. And I know we have the little signs at the bird nesting area, but it's true through forever, everywhere. And I don't know that all of this can be on the sign. But so what we should be doing is creating the list for the website and then deciding what hits the level of the sign.
I don't think we can do that leash thing because I think it just has to be dogs have to be under the control, isn't it?
I didn't say
Those
leash,
are
I said they
leash.
have to stay on the trails.
Oh, I thought they had to have a leash.
No,
No.
Oh,
sorry, I wasn't watching her. Dogs have to stay on the trails.
Yeah, actually, that's in Jim's notes too. And actually, it's something he copied from SVT. So SVT says, while we welcome dogs on our trails, please remember that dogs can harm wildlife habitat, pollute water, and disturb other visitors. Pick up and remove all dog waste. Keep dogs on trails at all times. Keep dogs out of ponds, streams, and vernal ponds. Put dogs on leash whenever other walkers approach. If you find yourself constantly yelling to control your dog, put it on a leash. Never allow dogs to run toward other walkers. Now, I don't know if that's all from SVT or some of it sounds kind of like Jim.
his legacy is speaking to us.
Yeah, well, I think all of us have been run at. I was with one of you one time, or I think Freddie, was I with you when the guy with two dogs and one of them ran at me and almost knocked me over? And
Yeah.
my knee was sore for like a week and he didn't even apologize. He was just like, ha ha ha, that's my dog. Ha ha ha. Well, his dog almost knocked me over.
Hmm.
And I'm not that easy to knock over.
I see dogs running at me and you have to bend your knees because if you're like locked and they hit you, you could really torque it. I just sent you the language I thought to consider.
Okay.
Jim just sent me a sign. It says today. I'll send it to you. It's a picture. It says, "It's okay. My dog is friendly." And then it goes, no, it's not okay. You know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it goes
I
on
hate
from
it when
there.
people say that. It's okay, my dog is friendly, and then they jump on me.
Yes,
And
well,
silence.
and as someone with a dog who doesn't get along always well with other dogs, like people saying their dog is friendly and they just let it run up to you is not okay. And people do not get
it's not
that.
okay.
I had a
And I
dog.
should be, and if I have him on leash, I should be allowed to like walk him.
I had a dog, Harley, who was fear aggressive, and I saw people with their dogs off leash. And I'm like, I jumped off the trail into the bushes and I said, you know, they go, "Oh, our dog's friendly." I go, "Yeah, but mine's not. Please
Yeah.
leash him." And they kept coming. And then when they got closer to me, my dog, got away from me and went after their dogs who came up to him. And they were mad at me. And I'm like, I'm off the trail in the bushes and your dogs came over to me. He didn't fight them much, but I mean, it wasn't fun.
No.
So we've got some work to do on the language for the trail signage, and that's fine. So I've taken notes on some of the things that referred us to the March minutes and to Freddie's email. So we'll
And I will
draft-
send around the thing from Jim from our earlier, yeah.
Okay.
And wasn't an email, it was a text. I just sent it quick.
So then we can gloss over the interpretive sign. So this is kind of an example of what one might look like. I had quoted at 12 inches by 18 inches, aluminum sign. And again, we can talk about location and what information we want on it. So now, before we move on to the next thing, do we want to schedule a site visit for sometime in the coming?
Yeah, so I feel like we have a need for 2 site walks, one at Breakneck and one at the forest. I think it might be too much for one day because it could be unless people have like that many hours. So I feel like if anybody could do one this weekend, I am definitely around. I can't commit to next weekend because I'm back. I fly back to North Carolina on Monday, and I'll be driving back, but I won't know when I'm leaving until, you know, the work is done. So hopefully I would be back by the weekend, but I mean, it's probably more feasible that I'm back like on Sunday or something, or Sunday or Monday. So
How would this Sunday work? I have a 1 o'clock trails meeting with the Scouts, but I could do after Freddie's church, assuming that time frame might work. So Freddie, I don't know if that's 11:30. So between that and 12:30, 12:45 to
11:30 to 1.
12:45.
I can do it.
Yeah. Where are we meeting? Town Forest first?
Yeah, I would do that. And would we meet at the Woodland Road entrance or the other end?
I think Woodland's got the most parking for us.
So 11:30 Sunday,
Yep.
the 12th at Woodland Road.
Yes, and I have to just depart at 12:45 to get to the other location at 1.
Great.
Sweet.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that should be reasonable, like, yeah, a little over an hour. I think that's probably reasonable for me too.
And then maybe we can find the wood frogs, because I still can't find those things.
Oh, well, you know, they're hibernating now, I think.
No, the wooden ones that were installed.
Yeah. And then if anyone has time after that, we could go over and at least maybe do some of like at minimum, maybe community gardens to look at
Shed sites,
possible shed. I'm sorry,
shed sites.
shed sites, like as
Say
of
that 3 times.
I was thinking like that. Yes, I was thinking that. It's better than Pipawasa.
Pipsissewa, come on, once you learn it,
Pipsissewa.
you'll never go back. Pipsissewa.
Pipsissewa.
Because I'll never be able to say it.
What? You'll
Shed
never be able to
sites,
say
shed-
it?
No, I'm tongue-tied, so it won't work well.
Pipsissewa.
Okay,
Pipsissewa.
I'll practice. Okay.
Okay, great.
So then we talked about dog signs. So we need 2 variations of dog signs. One is going to be for Breakneck Hill and Town Forest, which allows dogs. And then what we basically want to say, dogs allowed, pick up your poop, no poop fairy, and why dog poop is bad for the environment. So some version of all of that message. And then the Trails Committee, the trails throughout town, it's just going to be no dogs allowed and why. So there's just 2 types of signs. So for, based on the conversations we've had in the past, I couldn't pull your picture off fast enough, Freddie, that you had shared it with the poop yoga, but I found a comparable sign. So some version of like poop scoop yoga. And these are kiosk suggestions. So we could have, there's, going to be the signage that we put on the kiosk. And then, we talked about some field markings, perhaps ways of identifying poop throughout the property. So these are some ideas. And obviously it doesn't have to be any of these designs at all, but, we'll have to finalize something.
I found the poop scoop yoga was funny, and I'm wondering, and I don't know how bad the situation is at Breakneck Hill. I mean, at the Town Forest, but at Breakneck Hill, if to have a pop-up sign with different messaging periodically, so that it catches people's eyes and they read it and it's humorous or not. And then, so it's not just at the entranceway, because then people like they read it and they're like, yeah, and then they're
Oh, you
halfway
move it.
through.
Oh, I see.
And you were talking about an interpretive sign maybe at the pond. Was that correct, Kat?
Oh, that was in the town forest. But
Oh, I saw
yeah,
the pond.
yeah.
Well, so I'm
But
just
that's a
thinking,
great place for one at Breakneck Hill.
well, we'd need to do some, you know, that goes to a bigger issue of doing something around the pond for more attractive visitation or not. So,
Oh, like a bench you could sit at and kind of look over.
yeah, and keeping it mowed more over there. I think it's a bigger, I don't want to tie your project up by having it depend on other stuff we haven't gotten to yet. I mean,
I think that might be like
take a lot.
another iteration of signage, maybe.
Yeah, and again, we don't want to be the sign pollution land, but you know, but I was thinking like you have the main message at the entrances, and then maybe you know, like the stay on the trail signs, Joyce. We could have a individual place that you put up a sign once in a while.
I like the pop-up sign that moves around. I like
Yeah,
that.
or not even, if it
Yeah,
moves
my
around, it'll get
neighbor-
thrown around, but if we have a set place where we have a set sign that different ones will pop up. You know, this is where the,
Oh, so one pop-up sign location that rotates.
is what I'm thinking, because if you move it around, it will disappear. Is my thought.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're just saying one location where the signs get changed out to keep it interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds kind of fun.
Mhm.
you know. And I tell you, the Concord, I got a kick out of that poop scoop yoga. And I could see that at the top of, the overlook too, because I've seen people doing yoga classes up there during COVID.
Mhm.
Hey, there's a thought, why don't we have yoga at the
Mhm.
summit,
That's
That
a
could
great-
be an activity.
an
I
activity?
love that idea. Great
you
idea.
know? You could have a good crowd up there.
So do we want to leave the fun sign for rotational, like have that be the pop-up sign and have a more serious sign on the kiosk? And that would be like focused on education and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I don't know, what is the next step here? Like, do we need, how do we come to a decision on what signage we want?
So, I guess we need like the, for like the prohibited uses, we need like to mock that up with the full list. I think that can happen at the next meeting. If someone, I guess we could put, I mean, how many of these signs like the poop scoop, no poop fairy, how many of these how many designs did we want? Because like, I'm
Right.
okay with, I like the please be a good neighbor, I like the poop fairy, I like all of them, and if those are the fun ones, we could just agree, or maybe we want to consider a few more. And if we want to consider a few more, then we should maybe aim for the next meeting to have the complete set. It doesn't, generally speaking, take that long to order them once we have the design.
Yep.
Let me ask a question.
Mhm.
I'm sorry if I'm beleaguered, whatever. I can't talk anymore after the Pippawisset thing.
Sisela.
Sisela, the goal here is to get these signs through the grant up and start the program and have the ones specific for the dog waste. But if we need more funding for more signage, that could come at a later
Mhm.
project or not, but I'm just wondering, and I might have missed it when you were just talking about it, but we had talked about flagging or something, signage, all the poop on the site. And I have a real, oh, that's cute. I like that. I like the one on the left, or the no poo, but to do every single one you find there, I don't know how many you found, but sometimes you can find,
Sometimes you
a
can.
lot, 50 or more,
Mhm.
depending on what level of decomposition it is in that season. And we had talked about putting little flags in, and I'm requesting we don't put flags in.
Right, we're calling it dog waste field markings.
Right, but we don't use flags specifically because we're using those for marking native plants and gardens. And I don't want anyone to be saying, oh, what's that, a garden? That's a poop garden. Or other mean things. So, but I like these. I don't know how expensive that one with the little.
Well, the parenthetical says images provided for conversation. I suggest a homemade touch for cost effectiveness. So we print and use long wooden dowels, for example, and dowels is misspelled, colorful paper, and laminate for reuse. So something like that, right? So if we like some of these designs, I mean, I don't know what the copyright laws are. We're going to have to figure that out. But I think something like that was maybe $10 on Etsy. But again, that's kind of pricey. So
$10 for which one?
I think the no sign.
Does that say no pool? Yeah.
Oh, that's $18. Oops, sorry.
So the first one on the left.
$15.79. Yeah. What? First one on the left. Yes.
So
we can make that.
Is that something you think you can make?
We're not really prohibiting dogs from pooping. We're wanting to encourage people to pick up. So I don't think the no poo
No,
is
so
the correct message.
The correct message is, see that dog doing that? The one on the left, you can't see my cursor, I forget. That gets stuck into a pile of poo and people to show instead of a flag, right? Or right next to it, and if you see it over and over and over and over and over again, and it's not picked up, you're not saying, there's not going to be anywhere people picked up.
Mhm.
I think that would be pretty meaningful.
And if we're making these, we can make that clear, Joyce. So I to your point that, don't leave, whatever it says, but I like don't be a turd, pick up your dogs.
Yeah,
Me
I think
too.
you have that at the beginning of the trail.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe how you can go on a like a scavenger hunt? We could have a turd quest.
Oh,
How many do you find? Like the reindeer quest at Chestnut Hill Farm,
Mhm.
or count the jelly beans in the bowl.
oh.
It's getting dark.
Right, but basically you're just saying we need to have some kind of little sign like these, like an image of a dog squatting, or a sign like the middle one that's printed on color, like on bright fluorescent paper, then laminated, and then you can see them from a distance out in the field. So you're not necessarily, so honestly, maybe the middle one is a good one because there's a bit of a message there, and then you just print it on something. There's a bit of a message for when you approach one, and then from a distance, you can just see it on brightly colored, you can see them across the field or something.
I could even see a combination of that, like when you hit a trail segment.
Yep.
That's at the beginning, and then all the way down the trail, you see the dogs squat after dog squat after dog squat.
That's what.
And this is not to be left forever. It's like a weekend, and then maybe we do it again and say, hey, it could be that you have a little story on My Southborough or the social media, how many have you counted?
Right. So that's the idea. So I like all of that. You just hit on the next segment, which is how does this campaign outreach happen? We start with so to Freddie's and Jenny's point, I was thinking we would have a table. We talked about having a table out at the trailhead so we could have some of the main signage there, and then take from that whatever image that could then be. And we would have maybe that sign at both locations. So if people aren't hitting the table, they can still get the awareness factor, and then they would see the little dog squat all throughout the markings. So something like that. But leading up to that weekend, we would have like the electronic campaign would kick off, say, and I'm proposing mid-March, for example, and maybe we can even include a handout at the Springtown meeting, right? People are picking up that stuff. It could be kickoff part 2. And then we hit the outreach channels that we know, Facebook Trails, the Southborough Care and Share page, Solve, Rotary, if they're willing or able, Recreation, My Southborough article can be included, sending out e-alerts. So this would kind of be like a staged campaign, and then the flashing message at the DPW. So anyway, the idea is we educate and bring awareness to, and then I thought it might be great during the week of Earth Day, depending on how this lines up, that we flag and have the awareness, because that might work really well. We've talked a little bit about that as an idea. So
Yeah, I like the Earth Day thing, just so you know that last year we had planned for a big, maybe it was the year before, I don't know, Planet Palooza, for, I think it was Earth Day celebration, the 50th anniversary, and we haven't celebrated. So we really want to do like a month-long party for Earth Day this year. If we all get back, I think whether we get back out, unless COVID shuts us way down, I think we can do it outside.
Agreed. Yeah.
And we could do some inside stuff too, if it's better.
Yep. And then, so that would be for Breakneck Hill. And then what the Trails Committee could do, since we don't allow dogs on the trails at all, it doesn't make sense to really have a table anywhere. We could set up a table at the transfer center for awareness that the trails are being signed. Please be aware that you're not allowed to have dogs and why, so something like that. And that doesn't have to be discussed here, but I just wanted you to understand how I was going to tie in the other side. So then for dog waste educational materials, what I had at the Heritage Day, which was materials extracted from some DCR information. So obviously anything related to DCR or acknowledgement, as long as we have permission to use, would not be here for Breakneck Hill or Town Forest, but they had some really good facts and information. So I re-presented it in a different way for a big poster. So this is something we could have at our table as part of, we can have brochures if we wanted to print something, or just have some stuff there for them to read. So you guys can take a look. I don't need to go through all of this right here. And this little trifold guy, why it looks weird is it's actually a folded brochure. And I do have some printed already. We had some printed at Heritage Day. So I have a stash of those left that we could use already.
Where did you fund that?
Where did I fund it? I'm not quite sure yet, because so Recreation agreed to pay for Heritage Day printing. And because though this is dog waste related, I believe it would qualify under the printing for the Choate fund, but I don't exactly know if I can do that yet.
So I think
it came out of my pocket.
I think the committee can decide and discuss if it's a stewardship fact, because even if you're not handing them out at Breakneck Hill, there's a question, but if getting the message out everywhere would help at Breakneck Hill.
Right.
One thing that, Joyce, remember you and I were walking and a stranger lady came up to us and said she was complaining about the dog waste?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal all over town. Remember, Joyce, I think you might remember also the Southborough Care and Share page. There's a big dialogue. Well, it keeps coming up every so often.
Yeah.
About that.
I just sent you a link to earthwise.org. It's from November 22nd, so it's a pretty new article. I wish I had the picture to tell you. Back when I used to do river work, we had DEP would go out and do periodic sampling of water quality, and they found really high contamination. So they just kept following it back up. This was from the Sudbury River reservoirs down in Framingham, and they followed it and followed it and followed it. And finally they came to a small stream in a suburban neighborhood, and it had and they took the picture, under a storm drain in a suburban neighborhood was so many plastic bags of poop. So some guy was walking every day, or maybe several, and getting the newspaper plastic bags and picking it up. And this is when people thought that the sewer went to a sewer, I guess, that it was okay to dump it down those grates. And it was actually polluting miles away. The Sudbury River is how bad it was. So
Wow.
just people aren't aware.
Right. So that's the idea, is to educate too, and have that be the message. Because I think some people will always continue to do their bad behaviors. Some people there's still hope for. So this is a proposed schedule, December, January, finalize the signage, the terminal, the text that we want on the signs and what we want. And we can start getting those printed if we agree on everything and have them ready and install them as needed or as we can figure that out. And then the trail naming survey week 1 of March, close the survey week 2, part 2 electronic week 1 kickoff. And it's part 2 because technically part 1 was Heritage Day. So if I think the town meeting might be the 3rd week in March, I'm guessing. So I think having a handout there, do you guys like that idea? Like people pick that, it's not really relevant to the town meeting and we'd have to get Mr. Hegarty's permission.
You can hand out committee reports.
Oh.
So it's a 2-pager, front and back.
Okay.
The Stewardship and Trails Committee are jointly working together. But can you go back up a little bit before, is there something before March?
Nope. It's just, I kind of just shortcutted everything into this one row of December, January. And that was it.
So I'm sorry, I'm looking at this chart. So by March 1st. Is this just is this just the dog waste one?
It is the dog waste outreach, yes.
Okay, sorry. I was looking for when are we doing everything else, so.
Well, I put that into one row. So regulatory, directional, and dog waste signage printing and get printed. Yeah. So finalize the regulatory, directional, and dog waste signage and get it printed in December and January, right? So that's why those are blacked out because they don't fit in my March and April timeline. So if it's
All right, I was thinking we had until April 4th to do all that.
Yeah, well, I like to be, well, do we have to wait?
No, I just thought that's what the chart meant.
Oh, no, I think I was thinking like a 2-month, we kind of advertised in the proposal, it would be a 1 to 2 month campaign. So I was stretching it out to see how we could kind of like layer on and have it be an awareness campaign. So we're not just hitting them once, but we're hitting them slowly over a 2-month period every week. And that's what this like info dissemination week 1 and 2 and 3, it's like take pieces of the information, kind of like little bite-sized chunks and share it with group. So we can, that was just a thought on how to keep it rolling.
Yeah, so this is all wonderful. And
Good.
can I say that this whole presentation and your very thoroughness made the conversation easy, and you did a ton of work, so thank you. This is, really, really well done. And my only concern is before March 1st, that we should have an idea of what else we have to do, because there's a whole bunch of other work on the other part of the project that isn't, this here is relating to the dog waste program, which is fantastic. But for another meeting maybe, or just to recap again what we're thinking timeline wise.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if this is the end of your
It
document.
Basically,
Oh, there's a little bit more.
Well, no, it's just next steps on what we wanted to do. And we already did select a date for the site visit and, agree on dog waste sign, agree on dog waste field marking signage, which we've discussed here. So I think, for me, the next step would be to kind of put it in. So I've got the permitted uses and so kind of draft up some samples of what it could look like. So that at our next meeting or whatever meeting we want to decide that at, we can say, yes, we like this. And I can send out in advance more so than minutes or a half hour before the meeting. And I apologize for the last minute on that. But have it so that you guys can sit with it and like think about it and, be one with the signage. And
Sending it out at all was appreciated.
Well, it was
Yeah.
my objective to
We
have
made
it a little
some-
earlier.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
still, job
we
well
made
done.
some-
Can I clap?
Yes.
No,
My
no.
hand's up. I'm sorry, guys. Can I make it clap? I don't know how it went up.
Well,
Lower
thanks to
hand.
Joyce for all of her back and forth and sounding board and taking an hour with me on Sunday to talk about this. So thank you, Joyce.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I'm really excited about it. I have some ideas for the homemade version of that thing that could be
Great.
easily created and whatnot. So, yeah, it's
Hey, there's a-
really,
This is an odd question, but the library has like a, the thing you can make a plastic gun out of.
oh, 3D
A
printer.
3D printer.
Yeah,
My husband has one too.
those might be more, I don't even know. They take I watched it do something. It just went on and on forever. And I'm like, really? Like, like,
It can
yeah.
take a long
So I'm not suggesting that, but I don't know if there's something that would do like a silhouette cutout of the size of the frame.
Well, or we just do circles that has the black silhouette inside it so that, or even little squares, just because they're,
Where do you get the silhouette?
well, you just,
Oh, you print it?
Yeah.
I was thinking of
mean,
hand
it's
drawing
clip
it.
art.
Okay,
Yeah, you just get it through like clip art or something.
okay.
And
I
that's
wonder how
I
much it
did
would
the-
cost to make little vinyl ones. So you're not laminating.
Is laminating bad?
No, but
Oh,
just, it's just another step, right? Like you print it on paper, then you got to laminate each one. And how do you laminate round?
Do you know how much fun it is to laminate?
Oh, well, then you go for it, girl.
Don't. Boy.
Well, or, like we have a budget, like we can have someone, once we do the template, like, okay, we need, 100 of these this size, and then we glue them to the sticks and stick them in the ground or something.
I'm just thinking that and while I was thinking of it, there was maybe it was expensive, I don't know, but the Pollinator Pathway group just did one of those. It's like a vinyl circle thing that you can stick onto signs, and you can stick it in your car window, and it might be
Oh.
too big for a car window, but so that I just know there's printing methods to do stuff.
What if we organized a little moment with scouts in town to help us cut and put things together as a
Yeah.
way of tapping
And an educational moment.
Mhm.
Can they get a
They
badge
need-
for
they
that?
need to be old enough to be able to cut, without crooked cutting or, crooked pasting, if that was a concern.
But
of ours.
sometimes that's cute too.
They like poop. They probably like talking about poop.
Yeah,
could
I
always-
did get Jeff to talk to, he messaged the woman who's the pack leader for Simona's Cub Scout pack. And yeah, she wasn't crazy about them going out and doing stuff with poop because they're younger kids.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like, I'm still thinking, like, if the message was pretty, like, yes, I think the older kids who are like, I think maybe 5th, 6th grade in Cub Scouts could do something like cutting, or, even, Cub Scouts now is going down to kindergarten. So I don't know that you want them doing stuff like that, but I would think that some of the kids would be old enough, even these elementary school kids, to do something like helping cut out signs as like a service project. And, or if the message was really concise, I mean, they do have to like learn how to like sell wreaths and candles, like they're supposed to deliver a little message. So if it was a very concise message, maybe kids could take slots to help table, like at Breakneck Hill.
Mhm.
So that part was not discussed with her, just them picking up poop, or I guess doing signs near the poop. She wasn't crazy about that. But I feel like they could still get involved some way.
Well, yeah, and per Cat's grid and timeline there was all those small bite things. One small bite could be, a weekend where there's a couple of times where scouts are around the trailhead doing
like
that small bite thing.
Mhm. Maybe with one of us, that would be great.
Yeah.
You said doing that, what? Were they around the trailhead doing what?
I was
Ceremony.
calling it small bite because that's what Kat was calling it, like small bites at the promotional educational aspect. Like
Mhm.
they do something in my
No,
cell
I don't think we should use bites in the same
Yeah.
word as,
poop. I think that's a legit feedback.
No, I think if it was like a small message where like maybe we had some adult volunteers like going out doing the flagging, and then there would be a couple of kids, maybe with one of us, maybe handing out a flyer and just kind of giving a brief couple of sentences about what we're doing this weekend, kind of thing. You know, what you're going to see when you go to Breakneck Hill this weekend.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay.
So that's all
So,
set. Thank
but
you for
we-
everyone's time. I'm sorry it took so long.
Yeah, no, it was good. We made a lot of progress and everyone is kind of on board with what this project and this funding encompasses. So thanks so much. We do have some other items on the agenda. I want to spend at least a little time on. Is there anything else with Town Forest to talk about? I don't think so.
No, there's going to be some maintenance requests, maintenance. We're going to have to do some trees have fallen down, but nothing people can't walk over. So nothing more to take up here. I'll keep it on the list.
So let me move to Breakneck Hill and the encroachment, because this is something that I said I would follow up with Melissa on, and I did, and she did get out there. If anyone has time on Sunday after Town Forest, we can certainly go take a look at the encroachment if you haven't seen it. But it's an area where there's a wide swath of mowing that's happened, and you know, there's a couple ways that we can deal with this. We can do something very, very targeted, such as writing to the abutters right there, the houses that are along the line of that mowing, because we know what houses they are, and sort of educate them about stewardship and responsibility, and remind them that they can't be mowing, and invite them to come talk to us if they have concerns. So that
can I
would be very
interrupt there?
targeted, just writing maybe those couple of houses. The other thing could be a more general kind of, hey, it's the end of the season, like a more general letter to anyone who abuts along Woodland Road, because that's where most of the abutters are, saying, gee, we just had this beautiful season at Breakneck Hill. I want to remind you of the opportunities there and what's overseen by stewardship. And also remind you that, you know, we've noticed some mowing and that this isn't allowed, or something, you know, like remind them, and that these could come from, you know, if it's introducing stewardship, it should come from me. But I could, you know, copy Melissa, though. Just sometimes I think a friendly overture first is better than a scold, and we don't know for certain who is doing that and not allowed mowing. But maybe by doing this overture, we're calling out, hey, we noticed this season and we're going to be keeping an eye on it, and it's not allowed. So I don't know how people feel about those different options for the encroachment.
I love Plan B. I'm calling Plan B your second option. Yeah.
I like it also.
Freddie? Did we lose Freddie? Is she muted?
She's muting and unmuting. I wonder if she's having problems with her sound. Freddie, can you, well,
Is
let's
it the
see.
chat function?
Yeah, is there a queue? Oh, no open questions. Oh, can we ask can we ask
she's
questions?
gone.
Oh, okay.
Let's give her a minute. We don't have quorum, so let's just give her a minute to see if she can dial back in. Let me see if she's texted, saying she's having a network problem.
So when we get that message, do we know, like, is it a certain person or we're all having the problem with the network or the sound?
I haven't seen it. Has it come up? Oh,
Well,
there
does everything sound perfect to you all the time?
today it
Oh.
has, except for Joyce, but I haven't seen the connectivity issue.
Yeah, so I guess, yeah, I think it is probably Joyce. Yeah, now that I think of it, I guess she's the only one that I'm not hearing so well.
So can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
I left and came back. I have two concerns. Being friendly is wonderful and nice. And I'm not against it, but I'm not sure that we want to start out that it's our job. Because if we're friendly and nice and it doesn't work out, and then it goes to Melissa, then they're mad at us anyhow. And my thought is they'll be mad at us anyhow. So, because we know one of the people who has a big area mode we had a problem with before and did communicate with them. So that hasn't changed, right? And now there's a new one adding into it. And I'm just throwing out there that I'm just thinking strategically, is it our role to communicate with them? That gets into policing type stuff. And is it up to the Conservation Commission to take that job on? And I just don't know that, you know, we can be nice. Do you think they don't know they're not allowed to do that?
So I think it's playing ignorant for the purposes of ensuring that we're keeping a good relationship. But I like your idea about having Concom send the nice letter, because then it does provide a buffer. And I think the reason you would want to send Plan B letter to start with is because you can, if it ever comes to a head, a negative head, then you can always go back and look at how you communicated, and we'll have a good history, a clear record of look how accommodating we were, how welcoming we were, and it would really look much better for the committee, in my opinion, to do it that way. Even if we had to eventually get tough, we can say it, you can see the transition of the escalation, unfortunately, how it had to come about. We tried.
But I'm just saying, I don't think it's our job.
Yeah,
So
I
we're-
think
no,
I
don't think it's our job to say
maybe
nice.
Conservation rights.
Whether they decide to go nice or not nice, I think it's not for us to say.
well, we can make a recommendation, and
We may, but
I would.
it's,
I know, but I think if Melissa were in charge of sending it, I would kind of guess that she might choose that would be my guess, that she might choose the Plan B option, just because, you know, even if Concom sends it and they send a negative message, we're going to be wrapped up into that no matter what, because we're the overseers of Breakneck Hill. So I think you're right that we can't control what Concom does. But maybe if Melissa is guiding that conversation, they respect, you know, that they would want to listen to her recommendation, and she might.
I don't even know if it has to go to the Concom. It could just be in her, I mean, Melissa may just be able to, in her job authority, to take it on. That's just my point. You guys may certainly, if we wanted to start taking that on, but there's a lot of other issues with the butters then we could start dealing with, right?
I
And
like the one step removed idea.
I'm just, you know, and the only thing I'm not saying we don't prefer the kinder, nicer way, but if you're, my concern is if you're taking a one step removed position, then you're one step removed and you don't have a position on how they go about it.
Yeah, but we can make a recommendation. I'm sure Melissa will highly take that into consideration, right?
Then if,
Yeah,
I think what I would recommend is we don't take a position beyond that. It's up to the Concom, and then Joyce can talk with Melissa. Because we shouldn't take a vote on or make a recommendation as a committee, but we trust Joyce's great judgment. If you get what I'm saying here. To talk with Melissa and just turn it over. If we want to turn it over to, just as a thing, if you're turning it over, you're turning it over. because then what happens down the road, we've turned it over from the beginning. Or am I being too worrisome?
Well, I guess
I don't want to get in a situation where I can't walk there again, which
right,
happened to me.
right. So I will follow up with Melissa, and even perhaps she and I can work out some language so that part of the letter can be educational, but also firm.
But I'm suggesting you don't work out any language. If we're turning it,
but if she's the signer.
Well, I think we should, it would be helpful.
then we take ownership. If we're providing language, we take ownership. It's just either or in my mind. You can't say, oh, we're not taking ownership, but we're sending language. I'm not, whatever people want to do, I'm okay with. Like, it could come from the committee. I just, my vote would be just to let Melissa know it's happening and let her deal with it.
Did you not say you already told Melissa?
Yes, and I talked to her about what the options were of dealing with it, and
So she
was like,
suggested these two options.
she mostly talked about you could do something targeted or broad, and yeah, but we did talk about who would send the letter, because well, who would do that? And I think it could be either.
I just think it's a
So, I
bad
just
place to go
assumed
that
it
we're
was-
policing abutters.
Yeah, I would rather have someone with the authority of the town, like, that isn't a volunteer committee member, be the one who, is in that position to write the letter. So I will talk to her. In fact, she's probably gonna watch this recording, because when she told me she ended up having a conflict, that she would watch the recording. So that'll be a follow-up for me. Okay, so I will follow up on that. So she is definitely one.
Yeah, and then
Not hearing anything.
yeah, I was just thinking out loud,
Oh, okay.
and I couldn't think anymore. I just it's a very tricky situation where we don't want to be creating negative relationships with people, and no matter how nice you are.
Yeah, okay. Why don't we, the next thing I have is work. I know last year I had that guy Dennis in a lot to do pruning. There's more to be done. There's money to be spent on that. Do we need to mark trees or arrange a site visit with him do we want to continue to use him? And also, all that thing did not get completed.
My gut is just ask him to come back and start working. He knows which ones to go. We don't have to mark them again. What we may need to mark them again is if we need to take the rest down, and to make sure they're still marked which ones are coming down. If he does his work first, that takes away some
so
of
that
them.
could be part of
I don't suggest that we go out there and mark the trees again.
okay.
I suggest he makes ask him to do it, if any need to be done. We're not the best judge, is what I would say. I don't know, maybe I should double check it.
Well,
Yeah, you're just saying he should use his professional opinion to decide what needs to be done.
Yeah, and then we can double check, and if we disagree, we could, but for us to go out there, like, and I think most of them are still visible. It's mostly the north pasture, but I don't know if he had some skips in the south pasture.
Yeah, he did a lot of the south pasture already. I thought it was the north mostly.
Yeah, he may not have finished some, and or because he didn't work on them, I'm not sure if we should have had them taken out. But he stopped working because the birds started showing up to nest. And he didn't want to be disturbing nesting birds.
Oh, right. So is it just a matter of calling him and telling him
Yeah, I could do that. I've been meaning to. That's an easy
that,
one.
you know, we have funding for him to come back to continue that work?
That's easy.
Okay. Is that I don't have his contact information. Is that something you're going to do, Freddie, or would you like me to do?
I can do that easy.
Okay.
Just as easy as giving you finding the contact and getting it to you.
Okay. All right. And then, and I apologize for my network. I sometimes hear only how every other word that you guys are saying, and I keep trying to move around.
Uh-oh.
Right. The next thing I put was the mow. The mow started, and some portions got done, but there's still a lot to be done. And I know that it's been a problem getting Twin Pines out to do the mow. Just not sure what that next step should be to make sure we finish that before there's snow on the ground.
Did she freeze?
No,
I'm not frozen.
I think she finished.
Maybe three's a quorum. Maybe Joyce and I can talk to Melissa and come up with a plan. Does
Okay.
that work?
It's okay with me if it's okay with the rest of the committee.
We just want to get it done. We have some real problems with, now we have the calorie pear infestation.
The what?
The wonderful
pear,
street
calorie.
tree. Calorie pear. Bradford pear.
Oh, we have a pear infestation.
Yeah, not good. And that's in the north pasture.
Are they edible?
So we want to get that mowed before it becomes another massive invasive problem. I think, let's see if we can work with Melissa to see, COVID has hurt everyone to have the employees available to do work. And I don't know that they're different. One other thing we had talked about was maybe hiring someone to come up with a complete plan for the property, because we have at this point crossed an invasive line where the management, I don't feel competent that we can handle it the way we have been, which is, oh, go get this, go get that, hit this. It's been, when did we do the big one? 2004, I think.
A long time ago.
We have gotten lots of praise for how well we have managed and kept them out. But right now we've got, the calorie pear with the creeping Jenny, the purple loosestrife, but the buckthorn, the autumn olive, the bittersweet is wicked out of control again. And I think it might be wise to do that this winter if we can set that up. This isn't our plan, but it's more of, and I'm also seeing some weird grass coming in. And do you remember a year ago or 2 years ago, I walked with a biologist from Natural Heritage, and he said when we were making the grasslands a little bigger And he said, if you don't have the right grasses there, it doesn't matter how big you make it, they're not going to nest there because you have the wrong grasses. And that's when we walked with Larry Weiner. And so maybe, and there's this other guy from from US Fish and Wildlife. So maybe, I don't know, maybe just get a hands-on, I don't mean a full-fledged Conway School of Landscape Design, but it's been a long time since we've had a plan for the whole property.
And Freddie, who are the kind of people that we'd reach out to actually do that plan? And it would be like they would sketch out the different things to deal with the different parts of the property and what the plan is, but would it also be paying for them to implement the plan? Or is it just?
I think it's
two-part.
two-part.
Yeah, make the plan, then implement.
And as much as he was, part of the issue this summer, Chris Paladin, again, getting employees is hard. And I know, like, I just want to say that I don't feel that any of our consultants or contractors are particularly bad. It's just the way it is. It's not like it's just the way it is. Chris had mentioned that he might be interested in making a plan. There's another company I saw. They're out of, I don't know how much it is. Maybe I should just make some casual calls because, I wasn't thinking of spending $10,000 on a plan. But I don't know if that's what they cost. Larry
Yeah,
Weiner would do something. Larry Weiner offered a plan and it was like my eyes bulged, but maybe look at that again. And you want someone who makes a plan that knows what the implementation is, because it's really easy to make a out of the book plan that has no relationship to the real world. So that's another consideration. I think we can have time on that. I'd like to get the mow done. We have to set up, we have the, what's heavy on my mind is a CPA grant. We need to spend it or, send it back. We had been waiting for the Mass Wildlife Grant. We didn't get
Right.
that. So now, and that was a lot for the backside of the wetlands on parallel to Breakneck Hill Road. And
Yeah.
when the cows left and we didn't mow there because of the 20-foot no touch, we got a 20-foot buckthorn forest and multiflora rose, and we need to take those out. And I don't know about winter's the best time to do it, if we can get Twin Pines to come or put it out to a bid. I don't know. So I think that's something Melissa, Joyce, and I should discuss.
Okay.
And then see how much Melissa can take it over, because
Oh, that would be fantastic. Yeah.
because I just can't keep it up anymore.
Okay. So we'll follow up on the mow and those things with Melissa.
After I just said, oh, I'd go and do this and doing this and this. I need that duct tape that has a big no written on it.
I have some Post-its here on my computer that say no and other things.
I'll just digress. I saw this great chart and it's like, before you decide to do a new project, and it's a flow chart and it says, do you have time for this? If the answer is no, don't do it. And then it says yes. And then the box goes, no, you don't.
That's good.
Don't do it. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was, you end up in the same place, don't do it. But yeah, I think just figuring out some plans for long term,
Okay.
because the property's still beautiful, but it needs some help right now.
Absolutely. Okay, so Freddie and I'll follow up with Melissa on a couple of those things. I included budget in this agenda, and I just quickly want to share that I did talk to Melissa about that, and we do have probably about $25,000 that we can be spending for the remainder of this fiscal year on the stewardship there. So per our earlier discussion on signs, even if we're getting extra signs, it's gonna eat a very little bit of that. I mean, that's, a lot of bang for our buck there. But we do need a shed for Beecology. That's a significant expense. I'd like to make progress on that. I'd like to consider a budget item in addition to the kind of things that we were just talking about with Freddie. Obviously, the tree work, we have to pay for the mow, and potentially a big some money for a plan and the start to implement it. I also want to make a decision about fencing that could, deer fencing for Beecology and possibly community gardens, rather than having two sets of fence, like one thing that encompassed with some sort of gate or something that allowed a tractor in or something. And I just feel like we've got this money, we need to spend it. And I know there was some talk about like, a particular kind of electric solar fence that might work for the deer, but I don't really know what that is. And so maybe we can get some volunteers to, I'm happy to be a lead person on the shed and looking at them, and then together we can decide where it goes or where we'd like it to go. We'd probably have to get permission from the Conservation Commission to get some sort of exception for where it would go. We have to think about aesthetics, but we need a place to safely store the stuff from Beecology. And
I see Kat has her hand up, but I just want to say, I don't want to make it just about Beecology, because we have other equipment requirements for the rest of the property, so that it's not just a shed for that small garden area, but
that's fair. Yeah.
Clippers to go out and clip stuff, and rakes, and there's a lot of stuff.
Just ribbon. How many times do I get there and say, I wish I remembered to grab some marking ribbon, or I wish I remembered to grab just a small pair of clippers. I just feel like every time I'm there,
shovels. There's lots of stuff for the rest of the property, even on the other side, the pollinator gardens on the other side. And
yeah, I think we have a legit case for a shed. It's just the steps of citing it, getting permission to put it there, and then getting it installed. So
Is there a world where you might replace the existing shed with a larger version and have two sides to it so that it was a shared shed? Or is that a waste of existing resources and not be a good use of funds?
I think it's a waste.
The existing shed houses the water stuff that would be a bigger deal to move elsewhere. And so I think aesthetically it would be okay to have two sheds, and one, so that the one for stewards is a little bit closer to edging on Beecology somehow, and with the gates, the doors opening toward Beecology, and that community gardens keeps theirs. I think that's probably best.
And my second question is regarding fencing. Do we want to reach out to a fence contractor and get some ideas of what some options are? I have a relationship sort of with Any Fence. I think they're based out of Holliston, and they've quoted the Trails Committee, and I really appreciated working with him. And it might be out of our budget range, but perhaps going through the quote process would help us understand what some options are. And I'm not saying that they would do it, because I think fence contractors maybe, if they're still busy and it's months out, but it might be something to have. Is there a consideration of doing a quote or getting a quote from a vendor?
So I would appreciate you doing that, but I would also say that, so I'm not sure what kind of fencing they do, this type of fencing. And Chris Politan had described something and I couldn't quite picture it, but I was at Chestnut Hill Farm Sunday, whatever day that was. And I saw something that looked exactly like what he described. And I'm gonna send you a picture. It's I don't know what happened here. It's weird, but it has, you know, the solar, the electric, and there's a extra strand a few feet out that somehow confuses the deer perception wise, so they won't jump over it, because you need a 12-foot tall fence to keep deer out.
Yeah.
And this here wasn't 12 feet tall. And the one, what Chris said, it was like a, you know, like one, and you need double ones, I think, something crazy. So what I saw at Chestnut Hill Farm was, and this is kind of hard to see, I just sent it to you, but it has like the fence with wires, and then like 2 feet out, just like what Chris said, it has another line of an electric fence. And that's enough to like confuse them. And then the question though is, and we could check out if that's exactly what it is. And Chris also has livestock too. Like if you need to get a tractor in there, like how do you disengage it? Or does maybe I'd be curious to know if doing 2 sides or 3 sides of the community garden and not the driveway side, would that work? Because all those gardeners have to get in and out. So are the deer going to come around down the parking lot side as much and enter? I mean, I'm sure they'll come
Well,
anyway, but they're really entering, from what I see, the trails are from the wetland area, right? So if they can't get in that way, will they walk around? Well, I don't know how deterred deer are if they can't get it easily.
yeah, I mean, how tasty is what's in the garden, I guess.
For the ecology, I could see
Right.
making a square around it. But we also don't know right now. We put in, this would be interesting to find out. We put in swamp rose on the backside of ecology, and that's going gangbusters, like new
Oh my
shoots
God,
coming
it's
up.
spreading like crazy. Yeah.
So if that became a wall of thorns, will they come through there?
But they come through multiflora.
A wall?
I don't know.
They go around. Yeah, they'll go where they're going to go, I guess. But anyhow, it's just something. Because did I tell you I saw a herd at Breakneck Hill with the male with the
Yeah.
rack, and it was just,
Ugh.
and all I saw was, oh, that's so beautiful. Oh my God, they're going to eat all our plants when they get hungry this winter. So there's that. Oh, so I just sent you that picture. I don't know what it is, but Kat, if that looks like something your fence guys, it was a text. If your fence guys do something like that, you can ask them, and then ask them about what else they do for deer. But I think this might be more of a unique situation with electric fencing by a farmer type stuff.
Yeah, specialized.
But I don't know
for
how fences.
agriculture.
Well,
Yeah.
do we know the farmer?
Do
I
we
know
know
Chris,
where Chestnut Hill got theirs?
actually, I'm going to not say I can check that out.
Who's the person at Chestnut Hill?
It's all different. Melissa can find out for us
All right.
because they have the CR, right? Because they have had staff turnover there.
The scoop on poop.
I
The
will
what?
ask Melissa to. What's that?
I was just reading because Freddie directed me to text, and the article was the scoop on poop. I just thought it was cute.
Yeah. So,
I'll follow up with Melissa to ask her to find out what kind of fencing that is being used for deer at Chestnut Hill, and that I'll ask her to look into what vendors would be for it.
Can I
Super duper.
ask, does anybody have like a very rough idea of what we spend on like the mow mowing each year.
Well, historically, it was probably it was less than 5,000. It was probably around four something. Freddie, does that sound right?
For the mow, yeah, but this year it might, I mean, we have some issues. So I
We
got a
have
really
issues
high
and
quote.
everything is more expensive, it seems.
I mean, that's why we need to chat with Melissa and then figure out, because I got an indication that it was like going to be like 12K this year, which is
Oh,
just
wow.
nuts.
Oh,
And we
wow.
used to get a discount, and I think that is not correct, but but it's still going to be higher.
Is that 12K just higher because prices are higher, or because we have some invasives that we have to take care of? So there's a.
No, I said that needs to be worked out. It doesn't seem right to me.
Oh.
But it's a bigger conversation, but it's still going to be higher.
Mhm.
And we also have some issues because we're, if you look at the property, and when we took down, there's just some areas that haven't been cleared out as well. And I think we need to get like a brush hog in, which is way more expensive to manage it. And the other thing we haven't discussed, but we need to do something about that parking lot. And that's been on our list. And that's another part of what I would hope would be a plan to, we keep talking about it, but nothing happens, right?
You mean the
Trailhead.
parking, the trailhead with the wet
Grading the parking lot at the trailhead.
grading? Yeah.
And I also found some lower priced, for our next meeting, I can send it to you, some fencing that could alleviate some of the problems down by Beecology and not look that ugly with the pink tape. And what I realized last winter is, even though the pink tape was ugly, one thing it saved us from is all of the snowplow from the whole parking lot would have ended up on the Beecology. Just, I'm not complaining. I know my husband plowed for years, and they're working long hours and tough conditions, and they just push it where they can. And it would have been right over there. I mean,
Yeah.
so there are these, I had seen the people, have you seen these people? Guides at, if anyone went to not Erickson, what's the name of Ullman's
Yeoman's.
for the ice cream.
Mhm.
They had these like corrals for people. They're temporary. So I looked into some of those that could be sturdy but movable, which is a thought. So I'll get some pictures of that. Some prices I had found that weren't that exorbitant, and then, could protect it without looking so ugly.
And this is for Beecology to ensure that any plows that come through there, am I right?
No, it's for the people who are driving up onto the garden and throwing big rocks on top of the plants and parking there. And then the added benefit was we didn't get the snow. So it worked both ways for the most part. I haven't had any big vehicles driving up onto the planting area.
But if we were going to do the deer fencing, we wouldn't need additional fencing, would we?
We were talking about doing some stuff around the parking, so let me just get the supplies and talk about it.
Okay. All right, that was everything I included in our agenda for tonight. Is there any other matters that need to come to our attention tonight?
I wanted to let Jenny know that she had planted some willows next to Beecology into the wetland area. Do you remember that?
Yep.
They seem to be doing very nicely.
Oh, that's good.
Because
after she planted, I'm like, what the hell is she doing out there? And then
Didn't
I
you
didn't.
tell me to go out there?
I don't know. I don't think I did, but you know, like I was very impressed that they made it, and they seem to be very healthy. So thank you.
Cool.
We couldn't see them for a while because they were little, weren't they?
Yeah.
I'm thinking, are they too big? It's always something. No, so that's nice.
Okay, and just a reminder that 11:30 on Woodland Street at Town Forest for our site walk,
On Sunday?
the
Great.
13th.
I'm one of those people that
I'm
would
so
love
sorry,
a
the 12th.
I'd love a
12th.
reminder.
Okay,
Just, hey, see
I
you
will.
there. I'll put it in my calendar and stuff. So that's this weekend.
I'll text maybe Saturday and maybe sooner just to let Bella know. And yeah, and anybody who wants to and has time, I think that I'll have at least some time. I do need to get ready to go back to North Carolina on Monday. So I do have some things I have to get done this weekend, but I should be able to give a couple hours to that, which I will look forward to. So knock on wood, the weather's good.
I unfortunately won't be able to attend the Breakneck Hill portion, but I will look forward to an update when you get to it.
Right.
So you said Sunday the 12th,
Yeah.
not the
Well, I
11th.
said Sunday the 13th, but that's the wrong day.
I thought I
It
heard
is
someone
the
say
12th.
something about the 11th. So, okay, Woodland Road at
11:30.
okay.
And that will be fantastic. Okay. I think we can,
Should I move to adjourn?
yeah.
Motion to adjourn. I make a motion to
Can I have a
adjourn
second?
Second that.
at
All
9.
in favor? Jenny,
I'm in favor.
Kat,
In favor.
Freddie,
Favor.
and I'm in favor. The motion passes.
Great. Jenny, I'll send you the worksheet to include in the minutes for next time. So you have that.
Thanks.
Yep. Thank you, everyone. Have a great
Thank you.
Bye-bye.